Hey everybody, welcome back. Brian here with Mr. Jonathan Catherman again. We're here to talk about the 5 big changes deployment demands of teens, and we're on number 2. If you want a quick review of what those 5 were, go back to episode number 1, and to hear what number 1 was, review episode number 1. Jonathan, what is number 2, sir?
All right, so the second big change deployment demands of teens is a change in their routines. So again, we're going to follow a 3-step, I got to get the numbers right. We're going to follow a 3-step process here. We're going to recognize the change, face the change, and talk about the change. So the change we're talking about right now, we're going to face is a change in the routines. And think about what routines are. They're the things you do on a regular basis. You know, it's almost like a habit. It's like you don't even really think about it. It's just things you do on the regular each day, maybe once a week. You know, it could be any one of a number of things, from practices to more, purposeful values that you're really looking forward to. But the routines of life changes when a family member deploys. So Brian, let me ask you this. What are some of the big routine changes that happens when a family member has to be gone for an extended period of time?
So what I hear a lot from the youth is that, that service member that was deployed, they were their connection to any given specific activity. So maybe it's hunting, maybe it's fishing, maybe it's maple sugaring, which has just started here in Vermont just this past week. Maybe they were their academic support at home. Maybe they were their confidant. Maybe they were the parent that they went to talk about their daily struggles and their daily challenges, and how they don't have that same kind of relationship with the other parents.
Like the things that we expected or the things that they counted on, that person's no longer there. And it's really hard to do that virtually, kind of like we're doing this video virtually because we're not sitting in the same space. It's good and meaningful, but the conversation kind of goes up a notch, and it goes up in value when we're doing it person to person, face to face, talking to each other. So when a teen's experiencing a family member's deployment and they're not in the same room on the regular, and they're not doing the things you said, like going hunting or fishing or sports events or sugaring or sitting down and doing some homework together or projects or something like that. Yeah, it's a big change. Okay, so let me ask, how do most of your teens experience that? Are they welcoming that change? Like, oh yeah, it's kind of nice to not have to do those things. Or is it an unwelcome change? Like, you know what, I'm really going to miss this for the next 6 months, next year. What do you get from them when they talk to you?
I usually get it's an unwelcome change.
There's a struggle with that, because if you go back to our first video where we're talking about how demands lead us down one of 2 paths. It'll either lead us in a way if we're willing and able to accept that demand, we see it as a challenge. But if we're unwilling and unable to accept the demand, we see it as a threat. One side we're ready, the other side we're not ready. Now, I'm not saying that having a family member being gone and you not being able to go hunting or get the homework help you need means that this routine change is a threat you can't manage. I'm not saying that at all. Nor I'm saying you have to like it. So there's different categories of when we accept something, if we're willing and or if we're unwilling. And so I want you really to think about it more like this, teens. Welcoming a change means you want it, right? But accepting a change means you are understanding of it and you're willing to still move forward. It doesn't mean you like it, but you accept it. So when the routines change and you accept it, then you're still on the side of, okay, I can be ready for this change and I can see it as a challenge versus I'm not ready and I see it as a threat. If we tolerate it means literally it's happening, but I completely disagree with it and you're going to hear a bit about it from me and I'm not going to give you my help. I'm going to drag my feet. That's tolerating. But then you can really get to the point of resisting where you're pushing against, you're sabotaging. Either one, tolerate or resist, is below the line. That's unwilling.
Below the line.
So teens, my encouragement to you is you don't have to welcome this routine change, but you've got to at least accept it. Because think about how important it is to have your mindset in a place where you're going to be ready for this change and the demand is forced upon you, but you're going to get through it. You're going to get through it, right?
Yeah. And that's not going to be easy to do, right?
No.
It's not going to be easy to do.
It is not easy to do because it requires maturity. And when you and I are sitting here talking about maturity and a teenager's listening to it, I hope you teenagers are saying, yeah, but I'm a mature person. So I fall into that category. The truth of the matter is, unfortunately, some people who believe they're mature are getting something confused. The difference between age and like wisdom. We can't say, well, I'm 17 years old, so I'm mature, or I'm 16 years old, I can drive, so I'm mature, or I'm, you fill in the blank for the age.
Right,
and you think
right.
because you're older than others, you're mature. I'm not saying that.
Okay.
I said you got to have some wisdom here. So teens, when a family member deploys and your routines change and you tap into the wisdom of your past experiences and the things you know to understand that you can accept this and see it as a challenge because you can be ready for it. That's what I mean by maturity. It has nothing to do with your physical being. It has to do with how you're thinking.
Right. Okay. And that's going to take us down the right side towards thriving.
Yes, that's going to take us down the side where we say, I'm ready. I see this as a challenge. I'll perform well. I'm going to thrive. Yes, that's what we want. Here's another question for you, though, Brian, when it comes to the routines change. When a parent deploys, are there some routines that need to change that maybe we haven't thought about, like that weren't forced on us? We're like, ooh, it'd probably be a good idea for this to change.
So it just provides an opportunity to be able to change something that maybe you've been wanting to change.
So opportunity can come out of this demand as well. And so that goes back to that context of maturity. If you're thinking, you know what, now that my family member is deployed, this might be the right time for some of these routines to change. Now, the important part here is also to communicate that with those adults. So that goes back to talk about the change, right? Let's say you used to really like to go do this thing every Saturday when you were a little kid. And it's a routine you've had for years and years and years, but now you're kind of feeling like you've outgrown it, but it's like really important to your parent. But now that that parent has deployed, you don't have to do it anymore and you're kind of thankful about it, right? It would be a good idea to let your parent know, especially as they're coming towards the time of returning, that things have changed a little bit around here. You don't have to go to Waffle House every Saturday morning and have like, Rudy Tooty pancakes and fruity or something like that. Like that was cool when you were 7, but not when you're 17. Or you might say the routines have changed, that maybe it's time to pick something back up that dropped off because it was important a time ago, but life got busy. We lost it. I'm going to pick it back up while that parent is away and invite them back into that routine when they return. That's maturity. That's what teens who are thinking along the challenge to thrive path, or that's how they function.
And I like how you mentioned to make sure you're communicating these to the service member that's deployed, because they're coming home. If they have this heads up awareness 6 months, 8 months, 3 months, 1 month out, as opposed to an hour, hey, we're not going to the Waffle House today. I know it's Saturday morning. That might be what you've been looking forward to for 4 months, but I'm not doing that because I'm 17.
Right. Give them plenty of runway. Let them see it's coming. And by the way, this goes back to this as a conversation, because you're going to tell them how you feel and would expect the parent to also explain how they feel. And so if you're sharing your feelings, you got to accept other people's feelings too as legitimate. Never push away someone's feelings. Just acknowledge them. You don't have to agree with them, but acknowledge them and let them have that feeling, because they could grow into feeling a different way by the time they return home. And you might also. Very important to acknowledge the change. Routines have changed, or routines should change. Let's face it, and let's work on being at least accepting. Some of them we're going to welcome, but we want to stay away from tolerating and resisting. And let's make sure we talk about it and give it plenty of runway to acknowledge that the routines have changed, and this is what we'd like to do differently in the times to come.
Great.
Cool. Okay, so that means we've covered 2 of the major changes that deployment demands of families. We've covered rules change and routines change. In the next episode, we're going to talk about how relationships change.
Relationships. I love it, Jonathan. I can't wait to chat about relationships in the next episode. Thanks so much.
Yep, we'll see you there.